Today we celebrate the feast of the Exaltation of the Holy Cross. And this feast makes me think about one word, and the word is transformation. Think about this. In the times of our Lord, the cross was a sign of curse. The cross was a punishment reserved for the most vile criminals. It was probably the most humiliating form of death. So cross was something certainly undesirable. But I would say not only undesirable, but like I said before, a sign of cursing. You were a cursed person if you were to go to the cross. But think about how God has transformed the sign of the cross. How He has brought the cross from being something horrible to being the greatest sign of the love of God. Think about how the cross used to be a sign of curse. And now every time that we see the cross, we see the greatest symbol or the greatest summary of the love that God has for us. What a transformation has the cross experimented. Not only is the cross a sign of love, but also the cross is the sign of blessing. And that's why when a priest blesses you, he traces the sign of the cross. Because the cross is no longer a curse, but the cross is now a sign of blessing. Think about when a mother blesses his son or her daughter. She also traces the sign of the cross in his forehead. Because only God is able to transform something that used to be a curse into something that now represents blessing and protection. And this makes me think about how sometimes we forget that God can transform everything, even what seems to be lost. So today is a day to take courage and hope. Is there something in your life that you think is lost for God? Is there perhaps a vice in your life, an addiction, a difficulty, a suffering that you think it's impossible to be saved? If God was able to transform the cross, why could He not transform that part in your life that seems lost? But God is also meant to transform not only the cross, but He's also meant to transform our lives. And think about how the saints were transformed. What do I mean by this? Our normal reaction when we think about the cross and our sufferings is rejection. We don't want to suffer. We don't want to embrace the cross. But the saints were taken or were transformed because they were moved from a place of rejection to the cross to a place of love for the cross. And this has two ways of seeing it. The saints loved the crosses that they didn't choose, but that God chose for them. The crosses of being sick, the crosses of treason, the crosses that come from the external world that you do not choose for yourself. And the saints were transformed in such a way that they did not complain when they had to suffer a cross, but they loved their crosses and they embraced their crosses. But the saints not only embraced the crosses that came from the external world, but the saints were also capable of choosing the cross for themselves in penance or in mortification. So today is also a chance for ourselves to ask this question. Am I able to love the cross that comes from outside? Am I able to say, Lord, I embrace this cross. I receive it with love. I hold my cross. This is also an occasion to ask ourselves, do I choose the cross for my life? Do I choose penance? Do I choose abnegation, mortification? Do I choose to give up on myself like the saints did, loving the cross? So today, brothers and sisters, let's renew our confidence that God can transform anything for good. He transformed the cross from a sign of curse to a sign of blessing and love. He transformed the saints because, like us, they rejected the cross. But He transformed them so that they could embrace and love the cross. And that's what's meant to happen in our lives too.